We were trying to see if we can have a AI chatbot to provide more personalized mindfulness trainings to support student well-being and coping abilities.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of AI and mental health. Let's talk about it. Today, we're going to focus specifically on mindfulness, and we have a special guest who is Yiyi Wang. Yiyi is a research analyst at Being, and she got her PhD from the University of Toronto. Yiyi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Please, it's a pleasure. So you did a study on mindfulness, right? What was the main thing that you got from that study?
I think because we focus on mindfulness, so we were trying to see if we can have a AI chatbot to provide more personalized mindfulness trainings to support student well-being and coping abilities. So we focus more on the mindfulness to meaning theory pathway is like specific theory term, but I can go more into that details afterwards.
Thank you. So basically, an LLM chatbot for mindfulness, and I think this is probably the first one, the first study that I see that someone did this. Am I correct?
I would say it's like one of the first, but I think it could be like a very novel study to me.
Okay.
It's very like my
So,
passion. Yeah.
so we're all very familiar with rule-based chatbot studies, right? But now we're seeing the first wave of LLM outcome studies. So this is very interesting. And let's go to the study. You did this as part of your PhD program?
Yeah, this is the last study for my thesis. Yeah,
Okay, wow. So this is very early stages, so congratulations. And
thanks so much.
so who were the participants in your study?
So they are mainly freshman students from University of Toronto, and some of them, like 10%, are second year students.
Okay,
Their age is like 18 on average.
18 was the average. So these are
Yeah,
pretty young participants. So this is
yeah.
interesting because this is within the frame of youth mental health
Yeah.
and you use an LLM. How did you do it?
So I'm very into programming, so I learned how to use the API from OpenAI and then use the ChatGPT 3.5 for this one as the backend. And we had some pilot studies to just like quickly test how to better define the prompt for the GPT to provide more appropriate responses based on participants' feedback. So that's like the overall idea behind the study.
So if I know nothing about LLMs and GPT, so you were using generative AI in the backend, but you were giving instructions to that generative AI on how they should work.
Yeah, so all the backend has the prompts, and then I designed the front end to display the chatbots, so the participants can just interact with it with some UI in the front.
Perfect, thank you. And you designed this bot to do what specifically?
I just hope to improve the customization for mental health resources or how to practice mindfulness based on the students, their specific needs. So yeah, I think that's the main motivation for me because I think a lot of students won't be able to sit there for entire 10 minutes to just practice mindfulness, but they might be able to chat with a chat buddy to go through some steps, how to perform some basic mindfulness exercise.
Okay, nice. And how do you teach mindfulness with a chatbot? Because the chatbot is talking to the user, but the user has to read. Is it by text? Is it by voice? How did you do it?
Yeah, so for our study, we had the option to do text or the voice, but we think the text might be more beneficial, so we kept it there. And then the chatbot for one condition, it focuses mainly on some, based on their value, they are like important to their well-being. For instance, we can be mental health, family, or financial well-being, etc. And then after they pick the domain, the chatbot will ask them, why did you pick this domain? And then they will, based on the domain and the reason, the chatbot will provide them with some customized mindfulness exercise. For instance, it can be gratitude, and then the chatbot will just write out a short paragraph and then guide them through each step. It can be just take a moment to reflect on things you are most grateful for, and then we can do some reflection afterwards as well.
Oh, nice. And you also checked well-being, and you have two constructs that you focus on your study that may not be very familiar to those that are outside the field of psychology: the centering and reappraisal. What are those two things?
Yes, so decentering and reappraisal are the two main mediators from the mindfulness to meaning theory pathway. This was first proposed by Dr. Garland et al. In 2015. And then the main idea is that decentering means how to view one's emotions and thoughts from a distance without direct immediate reactions. And then positive reappraisal, on the other hand, is to view the stressful events from like a positive angle, like notice something positive in the stressful events. So our main focus or the primary outcome variable for our study is to see if we can improve well-being through this mindfulness to meaning theory pathway and these two mediators.
Okay, nice. Thank you. And the question now is, what did you find?
Yeah, so luckily we found both from, we had two studies in our paper, and from both studies, our chatbot conditions successfully improved the well-being through this mindfulness to meaning theory pathway. Specifically for our mindfulness chatbot condition, it directly impacts decentering, and then that is very strong, so it lead to the well-being improvements. Yeah.
So you saw symptom improvements.
Yeah.
Nice. This is very important. And did you see any effect on regarding engagement? And let me give you some context. We been showing in other videos that when we use conversational agents, the engagement is higher than when we use a smartphone application, for example.
Yeah.
And now you're using large language models for everything. So what can you tell me about the engagement?
So we did a lot of qualitative analysis, and we found people in the chatbot condition really enjoy the study more, and then their study expectations is like way higher compared to the control group. And they also have very positive feedback, like if you like chatting with your friends they never had before. For the overall study rating, we didn't find the significant differences, but our overall retention rate is also higher for study one within the 1 week. It's like about 80%.
Let me highlight something that you said. Users were mentioning, feel like I'm chatting with a friend like I've never chatted before. This is something that we're seeing in absolutely all the videos, all the
Yeah.
studies that we're mentioning. This is very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
like the same for me as well. I had a desktop chat buddy I designed myself, and then I just chat with it whenever I feel stressed, and then it always gave me the support I needed.
Wow. Okay, so this is very interesting. So this is your main message is, hey, there's potential here. This for me is probably one of the most interesting things. And what about the outcomes were like at the short term, long term? How was this?
So for short term at the daily level, we found our study one within the 1 week, students had improved positive mood compared to the control condition. And then for the longer periods for study two, we found their coping abilities at the daily level also got significantly improved compared to the control condition. And for both studies, we found some kind of like stress reduction as well.
Wow, wow. Okay, so this is fascinating. What are your recommendations based on what you've done?
So I would say we should do like more follow-up studies because we didn't have the long-term benefits yet. So we are not like sure if this short-term benefits can be carried on to over, for instance, another 3 months or 6 months or stuff. And also I think the incorporation of AI chatbots will not be an alternative to mental health resources, but it can be an addition. So with the limited resources available for students, and like based on my thesis, I did a lot of the analysis to see, at least in Canada, the psychology like coverage insurance can only cover for 1 or 1.5 psychotherapy session, which will not be at all enough for students. And if they will have this kind of chat buddy to support them whenever they feel a little lonely or stressed, it can proactively help them to help cope their symptoms and potentially improve their long-term like coping abilities or well-being in general.
Okay, I like what you mentioned of this could be an alternative, but can also be an addition. I'm
Yeah.
always highlighting the idea that we therapists were not enough by ourselves, and that similarly to physicians that have stethoscope or have different tools to do their work, we now have these tools that actually are better than the previous smartphone applications, create this engagement and create this aspect of I'm chatting like someone like I've never chatted before, right? So this is an amazing resource. It's mindfulness targeting youth. We have been talking a lot about this. I hope that everyone here sees the potential of this study. Yiyi, thank you for sharing your research with us. I hope that you keep on doing great jobs in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much again for having me here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Please subscribe in the channel. There's a bell up here, there. Thank you so much.